Hey everybody, welcome to Ask the Anabolic Doc, starring Dr. Thomas O'Connor and brought to you by his websites, metabolicdoc.com and anabolicdoc.com, both of which you can get his book. I should be holding it, I'm not this time. America on Steroids, A Time to Heal. Speaking of healing, doctor, how is that pec coming along?
The pec is coming. My doctor said I'm a robot. He's a robotic. I said, no, I didn't do growth hormone or anything. No peptides, no growth hormone. I did bone broth and testosterone. That's all I do.
What is bone broth?
Bone broth is like great stuff. It's a collagen. It's like the stuff we use, like broken up collagen peptides and pieces literally from like bone. And it's like MSM and it's really for osteoporosis. Osteoarthritis. I'm sorry, and the MSM and the peptide pieces actually, and it's. I mean, I don't know, Ron. It's anchored in there. Yeah. This guy put this. I mean, the procedure followed on the Instagram. He did a phenomenal job in the operating room, and he anchored it in with these 3 massive anchors, and then that's the bone side. And then on the pec side, he put a cadaver tendon, an Achilles cadaver. Ron, it feels.
Was it the cadaver of a man who could bench press 1,000 pounds?
I don't. Ron, look at the pec. Ron, look at the pec.
It's coming right along.
It's going to be stronger because it's anchored in tighter, and the angle, the biomechanical angle, is pulled in. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
It feels. I swear, I just have to be careful that I don't wreck it from this point on, right?
Yeah, don't go try to bench press 500 pounds next week, please.
Not next week.
Maybe the week after. One last question about bone broth. Is that something that's injected, or do you have it with like noodles and crackers?
No, it's actually they make it so it tastes like chicken soup.
Oh, so you do drink it? It is like a.
No, it's a powder. Yeah,
okay.
It's a powder. And forgive me for not knowing the exact makeup of the stuff. My doctor said this is stuff that everyone recommends, and it's used for, like I said, osteoarthritis and as well. And so I said I'll give it a try, and it's just resting and just cruising through life and just being healthy. He said the recovery is, of course, he was mad because I wasn't using the sling.
Did he know you were mountain biking like a week later?
If he watches this, of course. So I came in, Ron. I came in and I had the sling on. When I walked in, I had the sling on. I was like this. Yeah. And he goes to the nurses in the nurses station. He goes, "All right, everybody, get him in the room. Take off that sling." He doesn't use the sling anyway. Because he watched the Instagram.
I saw you out the window. You put it on in the parking lot when you got out of your car.
Right, I did. I pulled it out of the back of the truck, and I just blew the dust off it, and I put it on. I walked in like this.
Yeah. Ooh, Doc, I'm very compliant. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing.
Really funny guy. Great guy. If anyone's got a pec tear or any orthopedic, Dr. Corey Edgar up at University of Connecticut. He works in Boston for you. That's for you, Ron.
Yeah.
He's trained in BU. So he goes between Boston and UConn. He's an orthopedic surgeon. He's a sports expert, and he's just a badass guy. He's a PhD and an MD. He's got a PhD and an MD, which basically he's into research. He's in his mid-late 40s. He's a very straight up guy, and he accepts that he has to rebuild people to get them back to what they want to do, from weekend warriors, which is basically me, to super top pros in baseball, football, college sports, and his day job is really taking care of regular people. Yeah. And he even told me, he goes, we're known for taking care of the NCAA top experts. He goes, but sports athletes, but he said those are so young that they have knee injuries and they get injuries. He goes, but our bread and butter is really just regular people in the community.
Now, you told me he specialized in repairing pectoral tears.
So when you look for this and you look for what orthopedic surgeons do, they specialize from the hand to the lower arm. Most orthopedic surgeons have their bread and butter, at least when they start off, is going to be what? Shoulders, hips, and knees. Yeah. So it's very interesting. So now you got guys that are just they over time, like me, they find something that they really like to do. So this guy he does it all. I mean, he's kind of like a jack of all, I assume. I don't know what his specialty is otherwise than he does the shoulders and the knee. But when I asked Dr. Acero, this is one of the top orthopedic surgeons up at UConn. I text out my med student, and I was like, here I go. I showed a picture of the bleeding and all the mess. Yeah. And I said, who's going to do it? Who wants to put their hand up? And my med student was in the operating room. He'll be watching this, of course. And he goes, Doc, hold on. Let me ask around. So and I thought I was going to be a Acero or another one of the other, Masaka. Now, these are two big cats, man. These are big orthopedic surgeons. They're in their 50s. They're excellent. They've been there for years, and they're really good. And they came back with like an hour, and they said, we don't do it. Corey Edgar is going to do the pec because he's done like over 60 repair pecs. And pectoral, apart from us, Ron, pecs are rare. Yeah. They're rare. It doesn't. The common man doesn't. The common man ruptures a rotator cuff. Right. And bicep tendon, because if you're working on your ladder and you slip off the ladder, go to grab it, you're going to tear your or if you're moving a refrigerator and you drop it, if your wife drops the other end, if you're going up the stairs and you drop the refrigerator and you go to catch it, you're going to tear your bicep off the bone. So those guys do those commonly, but the pec tear, it's rare. It's actually in the community. They don't see it in the community that much.
Civilians, I call these non-lifters. Civilians.
Right. So of course he was like, get your ass up here. And I saw him 3 days after, and he didn't. This is a true story. He didn't even do an MRI. He said, there's no need for an MRI. He saw it, he felt it, and he went. He just get him ready for the. He's like, he's just like, get him ready for the pre-op. Yeah. And just get him in. I was in the OR within 3 days, and then that's the film, and he just filmed it. I tell you, it's freaky. I feel phenomenal. It's going to be better than the other side.
Awesome, that's great. It's good to show you.
I'm so happy.
Good. You get a great surgeon, and you get a great result.
So many guys don't get this repaired, and that's wrong. If your doctor says, we don't do it, it's because the truth is he does not feel comfortable doing it. Right. You should go to see an academic expert at a major medical center and ask them, who's the guy that does the pectoral tears?
Right. Okay. Now, we're going to have a different show today. Normally we talk about, calcium scores and this and that, the heart, the kidneys, whatnot, but you're actually going to talk about the Mr. Olympia today. This is crazy.
Ron, you were there. I watched it blow by blow. Go ahead, start it off.
Did you watch the stream?
I did. Yeah, in and out. I did. Yeah, sure.
We saw a huge upset. Phil Heath had won 7 years in a row. Came in. Last year he had a bubble gut, and it was supposedly because he had a double hernia. He did have the double hernia because he had the surgery. I don't think that was any type of pretense, but he came back this year and he still had protrusion in the upper abs, like a smoothness in the lower ab area where it wasn't clearly defined, and his obliques were bulging out a little bit on the side, and he was penalized for it by losing his Mr. Olympia title to Sean Roden, Flexitron. Phenomenal condition and a much, much tighter, flatter midsection. And I know you're doing a video, or did you already do your video where you discussed, the implications of this as far as possible changes in drug use patterns with these guys? Did you already do your video?
No, so I did that quick Instagram post, and it blew up. And because I basically want to do more on this, but I just did an Instagram post on it, and that's it. But we got to discuss it today, and I've talked to so many people about it, and I want to talk about this is the huge game changer. This is historic, where it's been inching along with you have classic bodybuilding, the board short guys, and obviously, let's just face it, hopefully less steroids, right?
Yeah, less.
And now, for the first time, let's just talk about it. So, Big Ramy comes in, mouth dropping.
310 pounds.
How tall is he?
5'10" on a good day. I think I've even heard 5'9", but I'll give him 5'10".
Wow. So this is and his legs. Yeah. Oh my Lord! And his midsection was smaller than usual. He looked phenomenal.
No, it wasn't. His waist is getting wider.
Okay, I didn't know. See, I'm not the guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. People have been throwing up comparison shots of him. He still doesn't have a gut, but his waist is getting thicker. But I mean, that's if he had come in lighter, I'm sure it wouldn't have been as thick. But he or his handlers, whoever's calling the shots for Ramy, decided to bring him in as big as possible. And the condition wasn't, it was a little bit off Friday. He looked way better Saturday, but he's too big. He's just packed too much size where it's gone beyond anything that could ever be remotely aesthetic. And it is open bodybuilding. It's about the freaks, and people want to see big freaky muscles, but they want to see some sort of flow and shape and symmetry still. Not to the extent of classic physique. That's all about aesthetics, and that's why they have a weight limit. But I think this did show you that the judges aren't going to simply reward sheer mass if it doesn't meet the aesthetic criteria that it's supposed to.
But it's the first, Ron. So we hit the ceiling. It's the first time ever. Am I right? Kind of. I mean, Winkler. Look at Winkler. Winkler. He didn't score up there well either.
No, actually, Rolly did, because Rolly downsized a little. Rolly came in tighter. In years past, Rolly's come in bigger and fuller, but he's lacked the detail, and his midsection. He had a gut for a couple of years. He's one of the few guys that I've ever seen really reverse that gut and tighten things back down. That's why he did so well. Just like earlier this year, just to give you a comparison with Rolly, at the Arnold Classic in Ohio, Rolly came in bigger and fuller and didn't have a lot of detail. His gut was already gone. He fixed that like a year or two ago. But he placed like 4th or 5th or something. He came back 2 weeks later at the Arnold Australia, 15 pounds lighter, and won that. And he beat everybody that had beat him at the Arnold Ohio.
So here's the deal. So obviously you can see that I don't know. I mean, it's amazing the details of being an expert like you and understanding how it's judged and what's really going on. Yeah. And that's all the comments that I see. I'm the doctor on the drug side. So I'm the physician that sees the drug side. So let's go right into it.
Sure.
You got number 1 and number 2. I was watching it for the last 24 hours, right? Yeah. Right up till 12 o'clock at night, I had to go to sleep because I was like, I can't get my eyes open. 11:30, I didn't know anything yet. I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw that, the champ is number 2.
Yeah.
And I could see it coming when you read all the stuff. So here's the deal. And I've talked to so many people, and I obviously still take care of men, getting them off steroids. And let's talk about it. Steroids superimposed on insulin, superimposed on growth hormone. Growth hormone and insulin makes that huge that water retention and that gut, right, Ron?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How does a guru, and I'm not going to hate on them right now because I'm obviously they're hurting a lot of people, and there's gurus in the world where they're guys hire me.
Yeah. Now
they hire the guru and they hire me. No names mentioned. Ron, no countries mentioned, because I forget America. I'm spending half my time outside America and working all over with the Skype and FaceTime and Zoom. Zoom is becoming bigger, right? Zoom is actually really, it seems like it's a better platform. We'll see about that later. So I'm talking to guys. One day in the morning, they get advice from a guru. I'm not saying the names.
It's okay.
You guys know some of the names. And then number 2, then they dial me up, and then I'm kind of backing things off. And again, I'm not hating. They're hypertensive. Blood pressure is 210 over 110 just yesterday. And I'm backing off this, and I'm giving medicines and ACE inhibitors and diuretics and watching the kidney It's, again, I'm game for it. I'm doing the best I can. Yeah. Sure, I'm trying to back everything off. And it's like, the guru at 10 o'clock in the morning tells him taking the tren and all the meds. And then, 4 in the afternoon, you got Dr. O'Connor up here in Connecticut and Florida, and I'm backing things off. And then we're following labs and echocardiograms and all over the world. So Ron, let's talk. It's steroids and it's insulin, and it's the insulin and the growth factor. I didn't realize. I've learned so much in the last year. Every day I learn more. That's that water retention. Growth hormone and insulin causes that huge water retention. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the dilemma is for these guys is they want to come in as big and full as possible, and to do that, they need the insulin while they're carbing up to get that really full bursting look. And then they have to try to counter effect that water retention with diuretics. It's such a balancing act that very few of them ever really get that balance perfect.
So a guy not a few weeks ago, and again, these are not the pros. The pro guy, I'm not going to talk about. They I don't know what they do, and I discourage them from doing anything and being healthy. But I'm the career wrecker.
Yeah.
So they really don't come. The average guy comes to me, but the average guy is trying to be like the pros and using what the pros use. So a guy a few weeks ago was using Lasix and aldactocide.
Wow. Well, like every day?
A potassium-sparing diuretic on top of Lasix, because again, the bro science is, hey doc, one's going to lose potassium, one's going to hold potassium. Well, in the end of the day, his potassium was so low. Doc, I'm doing my research. I'm trying to do it right. I want to cry. I want to fucking cry. You're doing your research?
Yeah.
That guy's texting them saying, like, the guru saying, do that. And focus on me, man. Listen to me. You didn't do it right. And they showed me the text.
Yeah.
And I've seen a few guys showing me these texts now. But this was a text and emails telling a guy how to dose 40 milligrams of Lasix, aldactocide, aldactone. This is stuff we use for goddamn heart failure, Ron.
This is regular guys just walking around every day taking Lasix.
This is in America and outside America. I'm not going to say what part of the world. I just don't want to say it.
No, but I'm saying, was this a guy competing, or was this just a regular recreational bodybuilder?
They're regular guys, and they're just kind of playing around with competing, and they're trying. These two guys I'm thinking of right now, they're actually getting ready to compete, and they're kind of testing the waters.
Yeah.
They're experimenting. I've never seen this. I mean, I guess because I'm more popular, and I guess I'm just busier, and I game on, guys. Let's go. I'm here for you. Yeah. So, you may have to wait a few weeks because we're building up, but it's like, I'm game on, man. Right. But I've never seen the common man now, because it's bleeding into that. Yeah. See, that's why we're doing the show. The top pros do what they have to do, and so on and so forth. And if you're going to subject your life and sacrifice your life, you're a warrior. I don't agree with that, right. But that's what they tell me. You know that, Ron. These men are never going to get. They're getting hurt.
Well, I mean, it's a phenomenon I've been seeing going on for a long time, and you can go to regional contests, and if you really talk to these guys and they open up to you, they'll tell you what they're using, and they're using, in many cases, the same drugs at the same doses that the guys are using at the top 10 at the Mr. Olympia or Arnold Classic, which is insane, because that's what those guys do for a living. It's like, if you play touch football with your buddies every Friday night, would you want to get concussion? Would you risk concussions and tearing your knee and everything? Because you're not getting paid millions of dollars like these guys in the NFL. Why would you take the same chances? You wouldn't.
Well, that's a perfect analogy. It's like you're playing touch football in the sandlot, and you're not making any money on it. You have to go to work. You're a cop, and you go to work, and you can't think straight because your brain's getting banged around. And right. Here's a question for you. Yeah. Is it worth it? And so many guys ask this all the time. It's the same question all the time, top 20 questions. Doc, but is it worth it? If I'm going to be a pro, first of all, they're all gambling. They think they're not going to hurt their hearts. Every single pro is going to be limited in life and have problems with the heart and the kidney. Hmm. Every single one. And those guys know who they are. Yeah. And I don't see them all. But I just see lesser stuff. You're just, so is it your personal choice? Obviously it is. Are you going to cut your life short 20 years or 10 years? You're not going to get away with it. You're going to feel like garbage. Is it okay to be in heart failure when you're 50, heart transplant, kidney transplant, and again, you're going to basically take X amount of years off your life and off your organs and feel like crap? Is that okay? Is that okay?
I mean, what's the trade-off? I mean, if you're somebody who's going to make a living at this, and I can count on probably two hands all the guys in the world who are making a good living from bodybuilding.
I know.
If they start their own companies and supplement companies, that's totally different. As far as making a living from being a professional bodybuilder, prize winnings and everything, there's probably less than 10 people in the world who are actually paying all their bills that way.
Wow.
Are you going to be one of those 10? That's, more than 10 people win the Powerball every year, so that shows you what your chances are.
I can't believe it. But the problem, and that's what we're doing the show, Ron, is that for all the dreamers and the young men that want to do it, and they understand, I don't even think, Doc, that I'll be on the stage of Mr. Universe, America, whatever's regional shows, and they just do it because it's a high.
Right.
It's super powerful. It's super fun. It's very. It is true. These guys, it's the motivational speaking. It's all the stuff that you look and these amazing guys that are amazing guys. They write on their Instagrams, wake up today. Don't take. It's motivational because you're there. So it's forget the steroids. They are genetically gifted. Forget genes. Beyond that, they're going to say, who cares? Genetics. Yeah, other guys do too. I saw a guy down at DMV. I looked at him. I said, shit, that guy could be a pro. I could just see his muscle bellies. I could just see, probably doesn't work out. He's probably not on steroids. I could just see his physique. He's sitting there with a T-shirt and shorts on, and I could just see his muscle. Right? So, again, these guys go beyond that. They sacrifice, not to mention deadly sacrifice. They don't eat. I like to eat. I'll have a beer. We're going to be in Florida. We're going to do some crazy Instagrams. We're going to have the wine. I'm going to be drinking some wine tonight. I'm going to have some food. These guys live like mice. They don't smoke. No, Ron, they do.
Mice.
No, but I mean like big mice. Big mice. I mean, but they don't. It's so hard to be a professional bodybuilder because these guys, the sacrifice from the food and the training, their personal lives, I really hand it to these guys. And that's motivational. I will do it. You will walk through the depths of the valleys of death. It's true. Ron, it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, people love that. People love that.
Now, if we're talking about is it worth it, is it worth it? I think in the moment, any of these guys would say, sure, it's worth it. But if you're 55 years old and you're in a hospital bed and you're dying and with your family around you, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't feel that way. You'd say, Jesus, why did I?
But what do they say?
Why did I do this to myself?
And I think Generation Iron's going to be filming some stuff, so get ready for that film coming out.
Okay.
There's some stuff coming out, because I'm in there. So, yep. So we're going to see, because we're now to the point where we're beyond the beautiful pictures and the hard training and the sexy films. It's like we're going to start talking as we are now. I mean, we're getting out of MD here, Ron. I'm still always with you guys, but we're breaking through. We're breaking through out there, and people want to hear what is the sacrifice when they have a kidney failure and they're in the hospital. Some guys do the film and stuff, but most guys, if he has a pec tear, he does, or he's in there, blah, blah, blah. But when they're in there with a heart attack or a kidney, apart from some guys, we won't say names, he did, and God bless him. But you know what? Other guys, there's sorrow and tears and depression. And forget 50, Ron, forget 55. How about 35? Another guy in the last couple of weeks, 38, 41, massive heart attack.
Jeez.
I mean, it's 100% steroid related.
And when you throw out there that you're certain that all these pros that we're looking at, these big, freaky, beautiful bodies, are going to be having serious heart issues, serious kidney issues, to the last man. That
100%.
That is chilling. That is chilling.
100%. Are they going to die at 70 or 65? Maybe not. But their ejection fractions and the function of their heart. The average man who has too many hot dogs, the average man who just even is pretty healthy when he's 50 and 60, not to mention 70, he already has impairment.
Yeah.
It's accelerated. And you know what? I'd love to have anyone try to argue me on this because I've seen these guys. But again, some of them are actually getting out of retirement pretty early. I'm not going to talk about names. Some of them are not going into their mid-late 40s. They're just saying, I'm going to try to get out now. What do you think that's all about?
I think it's probably the risk-reward ratio where they're saying, what am I actually getting back from this? And a lot of them are sitting there and saying, I just placed 12th at a show and I got no prize money and I spent $20,000 to get ready for that show and to get to there. And it's just simple math. I think they're realizing this is not making sense. And
at the same time, Ron, the first time ever, the Manions or whoever owns, I don't know any of this. I can say whatever I want. You guys have to kind of clip your mouths, I guess. I can say whatever I want. I know Ron Harris, you say whatever the hell you want. It's just pathetic. It's pathetic to me. But finally, maybe it's not so pathetic because they finally are kind of voting for downsizing. But maybe I'm completely wrong.
No, I think your Instagram post, I think it did bring up a good point, and it's a discussion that's going on right now. Is for a long time, guys were winning with guts. Guys were winning with big. They were going just for big, freaky mass monster look. I mean, that's why Sean Rain never won an Olympia. That's why Flex Wheeler never won an Olympia. You know, they were going for the Dorian look, then the Ronnie look, then the Jay Cutler look, just big, freaky, monstrous bodies. And, you know, not to say they were ugly physiques by any means, but aesthetics took a back seat to mass many, many times because they're going on they're going by the total package, but mass definitely carried more weight in the equation in the judging, it seemed, for a very long time. Sean Roden, not the most massive man, and if I'm looking at the list of the top 5, he's actually the least massive size-wise of the top 6.
Yeah.
All
He's almost like a classic.
Were bigger than him technically.
He's almost like if I just look at, again, I'm an amateur at this judging stuff.
Yeah.
If I look at him real quick, I almost think like he's kind of like a big classic. He should be almost the big classic physique guy.
Right. I mean,
he won. He won the whole.
If you're talking to him, if you're standing right next to him, he certainly is a big guy. I mean, you know, obviously, you don't become Mr. Olympia without some size, but standing next to him, and then if you were standing next to Rami on either side of you, you'd be like, oh my God, Rami, is this like a side of beef or is this a human being? Where
It's
Sean,
true.
in clothes, it's not as ridiculous. It's not as exaggerated. So to have somebody like that with these really, really nice shape, structure, proportions, and the condition was just flawless. To give him the title of Mr. Olympia, to become only the 14th man in history since the show began in 1965, I do believe it sends a message that we're not gonna reward sheer mass anymore. If they were doing that, Rami would be Mr. Olympia the past 5 years anyway. He's certainly bigger than any of these guys. But even with Phil's an excellent champion. No, can't take anything away from the guy, but I think they just could not overlook what's going on with the obliques and with the abs. And when you put Roden next to him and had so much more of a V taper and a tight waist, that's a look that it's just you can't deny it. The thing is, a lot of the fans were, even after Friday night, where it seemed like it was a clear win for Roden, you still heard all kinds of chatter, grumbling from the fans saying, well, they're going to give it to Phil. It doesn't matter. You know, Roden deserves it, but they're not going to give it to him. They're not going to let him win. And in many, many years past, that's exactly what's happened, where Mr. Olympia wasn't really worthy of the win, but you know, they say you got to knock out the champ. And even though there have been times when the champ was knocked out in the eyes of the fans, it didn't happen. So this was historic in that a reigning Mr. Olympia, you know, he wasn't that far off. Condition-wise, he was fine. It was just that midsection, the obliques, that cost him the title in my eyes. So yeah, that sends as far as how this translates into, will guys, you know, cut back on their GH, on their insulin? I don't know. I mean,
So it's not clear. So it's not like, here I am thinking this is a great day, we're going to start to be downsizing. It's not true at all, maybe.
No, because you know, if it was a trend, it takes a while for trends to really fall into line in this sport. You know, in 2008, Dexter Jackson beat Jay Cutler, and Dexter had a much more symmetrical, smaller, shapelier physique than Jay. But then Jay came back the next year, just shredded and with a cool new hairstyle, and he won the show. And you know, so it doesn't really. It takes at least a couple wins for a trend to be established. Like once Arnold was all done competing, you know, that's Franco won 1 year, and then we had the Frank Zane era. 3 years in a row, we had 185-pound Mr. Olympia, which we'll never see that again. But you know, that was a trend. So in the late 70s, the Mr. Olympia trended towards the sleeker, more streamlined, athletic, aesthetic, classic look. You know, that's when a lot of these classic physique guys, they reference Frank Zane as their inspiration, and we talk about who inspired that division to be created. His name always comes up, and he was beating guys like Mike Mensa, Robbie Robinson, much more heavily muscled men. But you know, and then Arnold won again, 80, 81. It actually went on for a few years, because 81 we had was it 82? Oh, it was Franco again, 81. 82 and 83 we had Chris Dickerson and Samir Bannout, both of under 200 pounds. And then the Lee Haney era started. Lee had great aesthetics, but he was a bigger man. And then after Lee Haney, that's when things really shifted. Dorian Yates for 6 years.
Wow.
That's when things really started taking a turn for the mass monster. And after him, we had Ronnie Coleman for 8 years. So
Wow.
and then it was Jay Cutler. So it was just big, big men.
Let me ask you a question, Ron.
Sure.
And answer it as you will.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with the judge? Explain to me and the fans what's going on with the judges. How does that work? And how do politically? I mean, how do you judge? And like, how do they judge? Who are these people?
I mean, most of them have been judging the Mr. Olympia event for many years. It's a lot of the judges on that panel have been doing it for 10 to 20 years at that contest. Sean Ray used to complain all the time. It's like it's the same judges every year, so we're always going to have the same type of guy winning because, it's a subjective sport. You're judging visually by what's in front of you. And there are criteria, but it's still open to individual interpretation of what your ideal physique is. So if some judges do prefer size, that's more important to them than maybe the shape is. So they'll lean more towards that. And maybe there are some judges that prefer the aesthetics. I mean, overall, they're supposed to all be in agreement, more or less. That's why they drop, to sort of eliminate any wild, crazy people that are only going to go for a certain look, they drop the high and the low scores.
Wow.
To try to balance things out. That's how it is in the pro bodybuilding, in the IPB judging, IPB Pro League. I don't believe there's politics or conspiracies because every time there's an argument for that, it's easy to counteract that argument. When someone says, well, it's because he was sponsored by such company and they were a big sponsor of the Olympia that year. So people always try to connect dots and make these conspiracy theories make sense, but most of the time they don't add up. I think judging is, especially at the Mr. Olympia level, I think that's one of the hardest things you could ever have to do. Because if I'm looking at this list, I'm looking at this top 10, and there's a guy like Cedric McMillan. You familiar with Cedric?
Yeah, of course.
Beautiful physique, and he came in really good condition this year. 9th place. People say, how could he just be 9th place? That's terrible. But you look at who placed ahead of him. Nathan Dasher, Dexter Jackson, Rami, Brandon Curry. But these guys are all phenomenal. They can't all be number one. And as a judge, they have to nitpick and split hairs. And really, I couldn't do it. I take my hat off to them because it's a thankless job. This year, I think, probably I saw the most satisfaction at the end of the night with the judging because the fans, for once, because they're very rarely in agreement. Usually it's split. Half the crowd thinks the judges did the right thing, and the other half says these judges they're idiots, they're blind, they don't know what they're doing, or they're all being bribed, or it's all politics. I've never seen such mass acceptance and happiness at a Mr. Olympia decision, and I've been going to these things. The last time I think I saw people so universally happy with the way the show turned out, maybe when I was the first Olympia, 91, when Lee Haney won his 8th. That was unquestionable, and everybody was happy because he retired on stage. When Jay won his, when he did the comeback in 2009 and came back looking fantastic. But very rarely is there universal acceptance and satisfaction.
Wow.
This was one of those rare times. People were flooding out of there, pumping their fists and cheering, smiling. Wow. Yeah, usually there's a tense mood among the crowd.
Well, we're going next year, so me and the team, we just have so much. We're going to the Arnold this year, absolutely going to the Arnold, and we're going to the Mr. Olympia. We're just never going to miss it again because it's just incredibly exciting,
Yeah, Dr. T wants to meet you at the Arnold, remember. Don't forget.
Dr. T.
Gotta have
what else we got, Ron? What else we got? That was awesome, Ron. Thank you. It's like I'm interviewing you today. Wow, I'm actually kind of being quiet today.
That's okay. No, so, in conclusion, I don't know if this is going to have any effect on the sport per se. These guys are all, their physique is what it is. They can take more or less drugs or eliminate certain drugs. It's not going to change their look a whole lot. If somebody is using a ton of GH and a ton of insulin, I'm sure that reducing those doses would make a difference and streamline their midsection in a little bit. If they're smart, they would do that because the trend, like we saw with Rolly Winkler this year, like I said, now we're seeing with Roden, is that thick midsections and lack of detail are just not going to be rewarded.
Wow.
So maybe a lot of guys are rethinking their approach, and their gurus are rethinking the protocols for what they're going to have these guys do moving forward. We'll see. We're not going to know if there's any trend. We're going to need a couple more shows. The Arnold Classic next March will probably be a good indicator. we'll see what the guys look like, and we'll see how the judging goes, because it's a lot of the same judges. And that might start to show us what's really going on.
So for me, I obviously that was the biggest question: is it really going to happen? And you just answered that. So probably yet to be seen. But for me, it's less drugs is just better for me, because I think drugs are always going to be in there. And again, I'm not saying use drugs. I'm not giving it. It's going to be better for me to see like less of those esoteric drugs, which are really, when I say esoteric, I realize if you go to any average doctor and you're a pro bodybuilder, the guy's going to look at you and go, it's probably a body from steroids. We probably think it's not natural anymore. Okay, there's some little old ladies walking around. He's natural. It's just steroids, doctor. Does he do steroid? So it's like, okay, ma'am. But these doctors that are smart guys, they call me all the time. I'm overloaded.
Yeah.
I have a patient that uses insulin and growth hormone. He's using insulin. The doctors are flabbergasted. Do you realize physicians have no idea that patients are using growth hormone when they do?
How would they know?
They don't know what insulin is.
I have to pull up somebody made a comment on my Instagram. Actually, he wanted to know how to become one of your patients, how to get in touch with you. I said, I announce his website every time at the start and the end of the show. I don't think it would be that hard to find him.
Right. Okay.
But
metabolicdoc.com, buddy.
I can't find it. I should have found it before, but I just wanted you to clear this up, because he thought, because you're always talking about health and prevention of these things, that you're against the sport of bodybuilding and you don't like pro bodybuilders. So I want, I obviously know how ridiculous that was, but I want you to directly address that question, that you have it, a grudge against the sport of pro bodybuilding or against pro bodybuilders.
No. So I've been involved in weightlifting and lifting myself since 13 years old. So this is a brotherhood thing. It definitely comes from that. I became a physician. And as I was a physician, a healer, guys started coming to me on steroids, not professional guys in the beginning, just regular guys. And I realized that my colleague physicians, endocrinology doctors and urologists, they know TRT, some of them, and obviously now, how much TRT do they really know? And they're so busy, it's questionable independently per doctor. But no doctor I saw 15 years ago when I started all this knew anything about steroids. So I love bodybuilding. I love powerlifting. I'm more of a powerlifter. So I love the strength sports. I'm a strength monster. It's made me who I never would have made it through med school or even be successful in my life if I didn't start weightlifting at 13. So obviously, as it goes further, people start using steroids, and then the majority of steroid users today, they don't compete in anything.
Right.
So just regular guys like me and you. So and you obviously you were actually a professional bodybuilder. So this is what you
never quite got there.
Okay, but you're IFB. So there's so many more guys. So I respect men that train hard and change their bodies, and I respect men who use steroids. I'm just trying. So for this man, for the world, everyone knows. I'll say it for the thousandth time. I understand steroids are used. I don't agree with the use for competitive bodybuilding to get hurt. First of all, and in this movie, they asked me, well, is it cheating? I said, it's technically not cheating if you didn't sign a contract for it. But if you're a Major League Baseball player, and that's cheating. If you're an Olympian, you're cheating because you signed a contract indicating you won't use these drugs. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
So cheating, and if I take care of someone that cheats on their wife or their husband, I still take care of that person. We're physicians. I take care of people that are suffering. I took an oath to heal and not hurt. Right. So steroid users, and this is what I'm this guy that everyone knows me in the world, and hopefully people more love me than don't love me, and haters are gonna hate, haters hate. So it's okay with me. It's more attention for me. So the truth is, I take men that are using steroids and I evaluate them, and I do everything I can medically legally to minimize their hurt and their suffering. And that's what I do. I'm in awe of professional strength men, powerlifters, strong men, and bodybuilders. I'm in awe of these. These are men when you see them and when you're in the room with them and you look at them,
Yeah.
I mean, they've transformed their body. Again,
They're specimens. I call them specimens.
I mean, they are. Now, I've seen, again, in my life, more strong men, you know, and powerlifters, and some of the average guys come in and they compete and they bench. You know, I've taken care of men that have benched over 1,000 pounds.
Wow.
You know that, and you know, so there's a few of those guys out there, and these are guys that I'm like a kid in a candy shop. Strong men come in that are north of 6'5", that are north of 400, 500 pounds now.
Yeah.
When they come in, they have to duck under the, you know, and I like shake their hand like this. Yes. Hey,
Yeah.
hey sir, how you doing?
Their hands are about that big.
Ron, freak it. The knees are like, so it's like, you know what, man, for this little boy that was 13, that was banging out the Joe Weider plastic sand weights,
Yeah.
you know, smoking a cigarette, flicking a cigarette, and when I was 1970s, and tested the waters on some of my own supplements out there, and on and off when I was there, and realized, man, this is a crazy world. But I benched over 500 pounds. I'd like to do it again. Well, I don't know, probably not. Probably shouldn't do that, right? Ride the mountain bike more. But, you know, so it's a disease. And then, do I have body dysmorphia? You know, kind of always suffering. Do I look in the mirror and think I look pathetic and I'm not big and strong enough? I had that. I even suffer with it today.
Yeah.
So
me too.
So this is, I'm trying. So it's a like-minded guy who understands. It's a brotherhood. It's immediate connection with these men when they come in. And, you know, from taking one Anavar to, you know, 10 grams a week, it's just like, let's close the door and talk about it, buddy.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
No, I mean, you didn't have to explain it to me, but I think it was good that you put that out there and really went on record as to how you actually feel. And, you know, you are here to help. You're here to heal. You have no axe to grind against anybody. You love all your Iron brothers and sisters. Well,
I do.
You're a men's doctor, so it's mainly the brothers.
Yeah.
But,
I have to keep, for the political reasons and the medical legal reasons, I have to keep the door is open for men only.
Right on. That's fine.
But ladies, don't hate. It just you know, it is what it is. And, you know, don't be a jack of all.
Right.
You know, you're a master of none. So only men, and because the physiology of men versus women, it's called sex specificity.
Yeah.
You know, from heart disease to obviously hormonal stuff, it's very different. And I just decided that, you know, here's a card for the lady down the road who does the woman's hormones. I don't do it. You know, so men, those are my boys.
Yeah. Well, let's come back next time with questions rather than sort of shift gears 100% again.
Okay.
You were headed back to your Fort Lauderdale office. I want you to have a great trip. All your patients down there get the chance to work with you closer to home. So that's a cool thing.
And I want to say something right now. So I'm going to bring some books down, and I'm offering for guys who are supporters, you know, that want to come in. It's I'm going to be seeing patients Thursday, tomorrow, and Friday, fully booked. So there's really no time. But I'll pop my head out of the room. You could see the man cave crib. And Ron, you got to see it. We are gearing up. We'll do some Instagram posts later this afternoon in the airport. Yeah. And you know what, man? We're just cruising right along, man. Things are cool, and healing the Iron Brotherhood, you know, down there in Florida, and guys are coming in. So, but I want guys to come in. I'm going to bring about 5 or 10 books or so, whatever we can fit in the bags, and I will sign the free book. Just come in. I'll just come in for a book, man.
Right. That's awesome.
But my guys are going to be working hard. I'll pop my head out of that room if I can, but we're just going, and then we'll be back down in October, and we go down once a month for a couple of days.
Excellent. All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Ask the Anabolic Doc. You can find his social media links on metabolicdoc.com and anabolicdoc.com. Doctor's dropping new YouTube videos all the time, and his Instagram is Dr. Tom O'Connor.
Thomas O'Connor. Yeah, Dr. Thomas O'Connor.
Dr.
Yeah,
Thomas
I didn't even know. It's embarrassing.
It's something like that. I should know it too. So check that out. And thank you, Doctor, once again. Appreciate it. It was a cool discussion we had today. Yeah.
Thank you, Ron and MD. Thank you,
all right,
fans.
guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.